Oh, we are back with another session of More Than Mind. And this one is really, really close to my heart. A few months ago, we actually did a live with Dr. Shaheem right here, all about, it was right around Mother's Day that we said we wanted to talk about our moms and what is in their mind and their hearts. And it was so hugely popular that we wanted to bring this back and talk about it in a format again, that it's recorded so you can take us wherever you want to go and listen to this over and over again. Dr. Shaheem is back. So good to see you.
So good to see you, Shelley, as well. And yeah, I agree. It was a good segment. We had a good discussion. I think there were some sound issues that we had in that segment. So it's great that we're able to kind of fill the gaps, whatever that was missing, and to complete our discussion.
I learned so much in that session that we did on Mother's Day. It was very emotional. It was a day that we were talking about these women that are really the center of so many families, and they're juggling so much. And
Yeah,
one of the
yeah,
common things that we see happen in our society all across the board culturally is this
yeah.
constant shaming of of the moms. I feel like there were maybe a bunch of people that didn't catch our last session because, man, has the past few months been again boom, 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 boom. And I often sit back and wonder,
Yeah.
where is this coming from? Why do we do this to other moms around us? Aren't we all part of the
Right.
same tribe?
Right. And not to mention, aren't we all facing the same kinds of challenges? I mean, isn't it enough that we have to, juggle these multiple identities as a sister, as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, as a friend? So many different sort of identities that we have to juggle. Time and self-management. We have to rearrange our priorities and think about, how to set up our days and our schedules again. Sleep goes out of the window, as you know. We've got these sort of technological advances that we're competing with and trying to understand. The challenges of keeping our children safe, and sometimes I think that we, more than physical yoga, we need this sort of emotional yoga that will help us bend as a result of all these different challenges that we do face. So we have all the operational and practical challenges. Then we have our own shaming mechanism, which is maternal guilt, right? So this is mother nature's way, from an evolutionary perspective, for many, many moons ago, that has programmed us with a mechanism to keep us close to our offsprings, to our children, so that whenever we're a little bit far away or doing something outside of the home, that pang that you feel in the pit of your stomach, that question that comes to mind as to, should I be home right now? Maybe I need to go home. I want to be with the kids before they sleep. Perhaps I want to be part of the evening routine. There's that voice that doesn't leave us alone. And then now we have to deal with other voices from
Oh,
the outside that try and shame us rather than support us. I mean, people have to choose, Shirley. Are you a mom shamer or a mom supporter? Because there's nothing in the middle here. Okay, you can give advice. You can. Part of supporting moms is to communicate, to talk about the challenges that we're all facing. But you and I both know there's no such thing as a perfect mom. The sooner we get rid of that aim and that objective, and we realize that there are only real moms, and real motherhood is messy, it's chaotic, it's disorganized, it's confusing, and it's challenging as hell. Okay, so we don't need external voices shaming us into more confusion and chaos. Who are these external voices? Let me ask you, if you looked, or if you pulled from your network, who would you think were the people who were engaging, or who engage in most of the shaming? Who are these people? Let's name them.
well, I mean, if you're talking about my personal life, there are a lot of people who
No,
are watching
yeah. So,
external friend, either like
okay,
external friends. Sometimes
yeah,
it even comes close to family and people who are around you saying, you shouldn't be
Yeah.
doing this, or why are you doing this?
Yeah, correct. So it's friends, it's families, it's in-laws, it is social media, and sometimes it's strangers, people, off the street. As you're walking with your children and you made certain decisions to do things, maybe it could be culturally different what you're doing. It could be that personally you have a variation in your decision of how to do things, and you might hear from strangers or family members as well. So it could be anybody that engages in mom shaming. And for those of our friends who may not know what mom shaming means,
Mhm.
it's a type of bullying, typically by other moms, but it doesn't necessarily have to be other moms. It could be even people who don't have children. And that's a whole other interesting um, branch of discussion of people who don't have any experience, but really want to tell mothers how to do things. And it's sometimes done in very subtle ways, but not always. It can be very direct and aggressive. It happens face to face. It can happen in chat forums, and it happens in social media. One of my favorite authors, I know you listen to her as well, Shali, Brene Brown. She's an author, podcast host, researcher at the University of Houston. She has a Netflix
I love it.
program, right? She's just all around a good, real soul. And she defines shame as an intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and something we've done or failed to do makes us unworthy. So it's not just mom shaming. Let's not use that term lightly. That When you shame someone into further confusion and submission about the ways that they're trying to navigate and understand motherhood, what happens is you're telling them that you're flawed, you're incompetent, you're not enough, you're not worthy to be a mother. And no other human, no other person, no other individual has the right to do that, right? And it happens when people criticize a mother for parenting choices choices that you may have made, whether it's right from the time you're pregnant, the type of food you eat, your birthing options, to then issues to do with breastfeeding and sleeping habits, all the way to the kinds of foods that the children eat. You see, Shali, I can tell you, and I'm sure every child psychologist will agree with me, that there is no magic formula.
Mhm.
There is not one way is the right way. There are so many elements and variables at play here. The nature of the child, the nature of the mother and father, the presence of siblings, your cultural habits and traditions, the health of the child and the requirements of the child, the attachment styles. There are so many variables that play a role and dictate into why we make certain decisions. And unless you're going to take the time to sit with me and to ask me about and to get a better idea, a deeper, more comprehensive idea about what my life looks like with this little human being, please don't offer any unsolicited advice without first getting to know us.
I want to get to, as you talk about the people who do this, all I can keep thinking in my mind is, why would someone do this? But I want to give you an example. Is
Mm,
recently my husband and I decided we're going to get away for just 2 days. We have 4 kids. We work tremendously hard in our lives. And I learned in my own journey with my own commitment to keep our marriage and our family life mentally healthy. Right, I've been very open about
very
that.
good.
We've been going to
Very
a
good.
marriage family therapist for 10 years now. I'm not ashamed about it. I was screaming at the top of the mountains. And I honestly think, Dr. Shaheem, if I didn't have that, my husband and I could have been divorced at this point, right? Nobody taught us
Yeah.
to get married and how to have 4 kids and whatnot.
Mhm, mhm.
During that time that we were gone, um, I was receiving messages from people of, well, what about your kids? Who's watching your kids? Or you shouldn't be leaving your kids to go do
Mm.
this. If I wasn't grounded enough to know that taking care of myself and taking care of us is part of taking care of our kids,
Right,
I would
right.
have lost my mind thinking,
Mm.
why does it concern anybody what I'm doing on the weekend with my husband? But when I see that this shaming, I stopped at that moment. And when you're giving me these examples, exactly where I want to go with you next. Why do
Right.
people do this?
Yeah.
Why
And
would you want to
and
shame
it
somebody?
why would you want to do it? Absolutely. And can I just for a minute just say, isn't it interesting that those people, um, it's almost an insult to our intelligence, because how would you, why would you think that you have thought of something that myself and my husband haven't thought about for the safety and benefit
Yes,
of our children? How does that make sense to you? That you, from an outsider, might know better as to what are some of the decisions or
right,
choices that should be made for my children? I think when it comes to you, Shelley, there is many different aspects of your life that's public, and therefore individuals who don't understand boundaries and don't understand limitations, they think, oh, she's fair game, then if her kitchen is public, then perhaps I can go to her kids room as well and
right.
interfere in those things. So but that absolutely
But
isn't
I but
isn't
the
right.
example that I that you brought up that made me think
Mm,
about my own life is,
mm,
I'm still a mom, Dr. Shaheem. I'm still a human. Like if you cut
yeah,
me, I'm gonna bleed. I still had to deal with that own guilt as a mother. Or are
right,
my kids
right.
okay? Should I have left them? I'm dealing
Sure.
with that internally. I don't need y'all to come out and slam me and tell me,
Exactly.
right? That's what moms do
Exactly.
to ourselves. We do this to
Exactly. And that's why if people understand that we all have a natural maternal guilt, look, it's there. We don't need more people to shame us. We're doing that to ourselves regularly. Please support us. That support is what we need. And so the question arises, then who are these people and why would they engage in this very cruel process and choose to make others feel less worthy, and which impacts their self-esteem and their self-confidence and so many other things? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first one, it could be that they're bored. Okay, pure and simple.
really?
Parenting can, yeah, it could be that these people are bored and they just want to kind of steer some trouble. Parenting can be boring, and they may have, they're not busy at work, maybe they're not doing anything, and a question pops up in their mind, and they think, well, let me try and spice up things a little bit and throw some, throw some hate towards someone. The second reason might be jealousy. Okay, and this is a big one. It could be that an individual really deep down inside sees aspects of another person's life that they wish they had, they wish they could do, or that because they are so self-punitive to themselves and so self-restrictive, that they don't allow themselves to have any sort of extra fun or any joy. And when they see another parent, especially a mother, experiencing that, they think, no, if I'm not doing it, then she can't have it either. Right.
Yes.
And so why should she be allowed that? So there's this sort of very interesting projective jealousy happening, which is masqueraded, which is packaged under the umbrella of righteousness, of, no, I'm not saying this because I can't do it and because I may be jealous. I'm saying it because it's not good for your children, and that what you're doing is not right, which often the case is not true. Okay. Another reason why people do it is that some parents mom shame because they feel they're not giving their children enough.
Ooh.
Okay. So
Oh.
guilt, their own guilt of, why is this mother having so much fun with her kids? Or how come she's always in a good mood? I'm not always in a good mood with my children. I don't dance with my children in the kitchen. I can't wait to finish breakfast and get them out of the house. So you know what? I'm going to call her fake, and I'm going to say that she's making us all look bad, and that she's not a good example to the rest of the mothers.
Gosh, that's so
Ridiculous,
true. I didn't even
right?
think about it that way.
Right. So this idea of, yeah, I feel bad. I have another reason to feel guilty. So what am I going to do with this guilt? I need to now displace it and find a target for these negative emotions. And wouldn't it be easy, Shelley, just for them to emulate and to imitate what they observe? If they see someone living their life, making choices that is good for them and good for their children, and happy about those choices, my goodness, learn from that, observe that behavior, imitate it, carve out your own style. Not everyone needs to be exactly as somebody else, but find what brings you joy and generates joy for you. You see, motherhood is so challenging. And when mothers can't meet these unrealistic expectations, they're almost set up to be disappointed, right? And feel like failures or become insecure about their parenting abilities. And so this can lead to high rates of anxiety and depression in mothers.
Mhm.
And when we are anxious, when we are overwhelmed, when we're burnt out, surely some mothers make very bad choices and bad decisions, and they need a dumping ground for all these sort of feelings. And as soon as they find someone who looks like they're living a better life than they are, they use them as a target, unfortunately.
So what do we, now that I understand this more, when you say it, oh, Dr. Shaheem, you bring me back to like ground zero. When I'm hear these things and I
Yeah.
understand the explanation behind it, I'm like, oh, okay. I get it. I get it. I get it. So how do moms like myself and millions of mothers around the world who are dealing with the same issues, what do we do in situations like that? Because
Yeah,
it's not always social media. It comes from our own family. It comes from people who are around us. So what do
absolutely.
we do?
No, absolutely. Well, there's a few things that the person sharing these ideas, guidance, and advice can do, and there's a few things that we can do on the receiving end. Okay, so it's really important right from the beginning. The first thing we can do when we hear these things is not to react. You don't need to react. You can, chew it over, process it, and then think about how you'd like to respond to what it is that you're hearing. Remember, Shali, it takes a village to raise a child, and the social media platform and various other social media platforms, they've been created to make the world, to make the globe seem smaller, so that we're more connected to be able to support one another. So what I'm talking about here is face to face, in person, as well as in social media. Okay,
Okay.
so the first thing to do is just to sit back and to think about how would I like to respond. Remember, we are more evolved species, and so we don't need to be reactionary. If you react, you're not chewing things over and processing them properly, and you're likely to say or do something that you may regret later. Okay, so sit back and first think about, how do I want to process this? The second thing is, try and cut through your hurt feelings and the fact that you have personalized what is being said, and reflect on, is there a grain of truth to what is being said? Is there anything associated with, you see, what there's a great expression in English that says, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. When you're emptying the bathwater, hang on to the baby. Is there a morsel of truth or a grain of good advice in what these people are saying that I can learn from and be more mindful about? Okay. And an emotionally intelligent person, a person with a growth mindset, will do that. They'll step back and say, let me unravel this and see what could be at the core of it? Or perhaps, even if there's nothing at the core of it, has this now triggered something in me for
Mm,
me to be more mindful and conscientious of the way that I present my life to other people, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is very, very important. Do not become what you hate. Okay. You'll hear me repeat this quite often in the things that we discuss. So if that person has been rude, offensive, confrontational, we should not be what we hate. Okay. How you respond to that person should be a reflection of who you are as an emotionally intelligent person. So the way that you respond should be gracious. It should be um, it should be with goodwill. It should be a demonstration of your manners and the way that you have been raised and all the rest of the positive aspects of your social codes of conduct. And that what we can say is, hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing your opinion with me. I'll think about it, and I I don't appreciate when my choices are questioned, but thank you nevertheless. And I appreciate you taking the time to share this with me. And that's it. End of subject. On social media, I would seriously recommend, if anyone criticizes someone publicly, those comments should be removed and deleted. And I don't think they should be confronted at all, because that's what these people want. They
want.
want your attention. They want to derail you from your goals and objectives of as you're driving and as you're progressing towards the light, Shelley. There are people who are going to want to drag us back into the darkness. We shouldn't fall for those traps. Giving these people time and attention derail us from our mission in life, even if it's temporarily. If it's temporarily, you have no time for that. Okay, so answer with grace. Think about if there's a nugget of truth to it, and when there is the right time and the right place, ask those people, can I ask you, do you know that your comment can be incredibly hurtful?
Yes.
And your comment goes to the core of my identity as a mother. And I would like to give you some feedback in that next time, please don't offer any unsolicited advice when it's no one has asked your opinion about how to do things.
Oh, you're
Uh,
so good.
and second of all, if I do ask your opinion, I hope that you'll take the time to demonstrate empathy and compassion and a comprehensive understanding of my situation before you um, share, subjective advice that you might think is best for me and my family.
This was good stuff, Dr. Shaheem. Like really good stuff. I love it. I love it. I got
Yeah.
three new podcast ideas.
Oh,
Ideas
amazing.
just from the things you're talking about. I'm going to tell you about them later because all of them, my
Okay,
little light bulb moments went off. I'm like, ooh, this would be a good one too.
fantastic. Okay, so in summary, what what are our friends going to take away from this discussion, do you think? So we've talked about how tough it is to be a mom. What else?
Mom shaming,
Yeah,
why
what?
people do it.
Mom shaming, why people do it, and for us to step back and to understand that people do it for different reasons. It may be much more about them than it is about us. So
Yes.
try not to personalize it, and to reflect about what is being said and see if there's a kernel of truth somewhere. Or am I sharing too much? Am I displaying too much? And perhaps is there something that I need to do? I was talking to a friend of mine recently who was saying, it's my fault. I sit with my in-laws and I tell them everything that's happening in my household. And now, but the problem is I share all the negative things. I don't share the makeups the kissing and the making up and all the
Mhm.
good aspects, the conflict resolution part of things, I only share the negative things. And now I find them, they've turned into people who are um getting involved in situations that I never wanted them to be involved in. So really think about what you're doing as well to try and limit that kind of interference.
And I love the
Anything else stood
yeah.
out for you?
Yes, it did. And I think how I would like to wrap this up for anybody who is watching, whether they are a mom or they're just a soul walking on this planet, that you take a moment and ask yourself the same question that Dr. Shaheem just posed just a few moments ago is, are you a mom shamer or are you a mom supporter? And are you that person that will fix another mom's crown without letting the whole world know that it's already crooked?
Yes,
Right? So
yes, yes.
that would be the big
Exactly.
takeaway, to reflect upon yourself and say, what kind of person do I want to be to
Yeah.
other moms around the planet? Because if you're a mom, you know we're already doing this to ourselves. We don't need the rest of the world to do it to us.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely. And we all have tribes. And
Yes.
in the more than mind tribe, we want mom supporters.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Shaheem. I appreciate your time. Another beautiful session on More Than Mind. And I am so incredibly grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Grateful for you, Shelley. See you next time.